Good morning. This is David Bennett, and this is Bitcoin And, a podcast where I try to find the edge effect between the worlds of Bitcoin, gaming, permaculture, podcasting, and education to gain a better understanding of all. Edge effect is a concept from ecology describing a greater diversity of life where the edges of two systems overlap. While species from either system can be found at the edge, it is important to note there are species in the overlap that exist in neither system, and that is what I seek to uncover. So join me in discovering the variety of things being created as Bitcoin rubs up against other systems. It is 12:48 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's late today on the 25th of November 2024. This is episode 998 of Bitcoin and only two more to go. Two more to go until the big 1,000, but this show is probably going to be a little bit shorter today, considering that everybody is on, Thanksgiving break and all. So let's get into it with MicroStrategy expanding their Bitcoin holdings with $5.4 billion in purchases. Holy shit. Josh O'Sullivan, Cointelegraph, let's begin with this one. MicroStrategy, a publicly traded business intelligence and software firm, reported a substantial expansion of its Bitcoin holdings in a filing today, November the 25th, where it disclosed that it has acquired about 55,000 Bitcoin. Again, 55,000 Bitcoin for $5.4 billion, and they did so between the dates of November the 18th and yesterday, the 24th, at an average price of $97,862 per coin. And of course, the minute the news hit, sell the news. Why we're at $94,739. It's amazing how sell the news works. I'm never going to understand it, but there it is. The purchase was funded through the proceeds from the recent equity and debt offerings, according to the filing. And the latest purchase has pumped MicroStrategy's total BTC holdings to a massive 386,700 BTC, acquired at a cumulative cost of $21.9 billion, or an average price of $56,761 per coin. The firm's continued buying spree, close to BTC's new high, near $100,000, suggests that it expects further growth in Bitcoin's value, driven by rising institutional adoption and optimism over potential pro-crypto legislation under the incoming United States administration of President-elect Donald Trump. MicroStrategy has used the funds from the private offering of 0% convertible senior notes, which is due 2029, and its ongoing at-the-market equity program. The notes offering, which finished on November the 21st, raised a total of $2.97 billion, alongside the firm selling 5,597,000 shares under its at-the-market equity program to generate a further $2.46 billion in net proceeds. These funds combined provided the liquidity to support the firm's continued aggressive acquisition of BTC, and as of November the 24th, MicroStrategy reported $12.8 billion in remaining capacity under the at-the-market program. In its Form 8K disclosure, MicroStrategy detailed the use of proprietary performance metric Bitcoin yield, which measures the percentage change in the ratio of BTC holdings to assumed diluted shares outstanding. And as of yesterday, November the 24th, the company reported a BTC yield of 59.3%, up from 35.2% at the end of the third quarter. Put in layman's terms, this metric measures the firm's focus on maximizing shareholder value through its Bitcoin acquisitions and making BTC the primary driver of its financial strategy going forward. Similar Scientific, not to be outdone, said that it has acquired 297 BTC for $29.1 million between the same dates, or essentially November the 18th through November the 22nd, increasing its total holdings to 1,570 BTC, purchased at an average price of $75,000 per coin, The firm expanded its ATM, or at the market equity program, by a further $50 million, doubling its offering capacity to $100 million, with $50 million already generated through gross proceeds. And Similar Scientific reported a year-to-date BTC yield of roughly the same as MicroStrategy, 58.4% as of November the 22nd, highlighting its focus on using BTC as a treasury asset. So both of these firms, let's see, MicroStrategy's BTC yield is 59.3%. And remember, their average purchase price is like $59,000 per coin. Now, we go down here to Similar Scientific. They have a 58.4% BTC yield on a year-to-date average, but their average purchase price was $75,000. Now, think about that. That is a hell of a delta between those two particular average coin purchasing prices, and yet they're almost identical in their BTC yield. That's probably something that we should look at as more and more firms move forward. What it suggests to firms moving forward, to me, is that it doesn't matter what you buy the shit at. It does not matter what you buy it at. You're probably going to end up with this KPI metric of 58, anywhere between 58 and or 55 and 60% on a BTC year-to-date yield. It's kind of amazing, honestly. All right, let's get into this one. New Market Capital launches battery finance, the Bitcoin collateralized loan strategy. Okay, this was when I started out the show on Friday with that piece from CNBC. It was these people. And Frank Corva is going to tell us a little bit more about what's going on with it out of Bitcoin Magazine. New Market Capital recently closed the first investment deal for its new battery finance loan strategy, which enables borrowers to incorporate Bitcoin into long-term financing structures as collateral. On November the 7th, New Market Capital, an institutional capital manager and registered investment advisor, completed a refinancing for the Bank Street Court apartment in Old City, Philadelphia, PA, or Pennsylvania. The loan was collateralized by both the building and approximately 20 Bitcoin. New Market Capital CEO Andrew Hans is excited about not only setting his company's new strategy in motion, but the symbolism of the deal. Quote, "It's a building that is located less than half a block away from the First Bank of the United States. Philadelphia has had a lot of firsts and innovations over the years, and we're proud to contribute another one to that list," Hans told Bitcoin Magazine. So here's how the strategy works. Battery finance enables Bitcoin to be used as 10 to 30% of the collateral for loans alongside traditional assets. To bring this new strategy to life, New Market Capital partnered with 1031 to establish Battery Finance, a majority-owned subsidiary of New Market Capital that utilizes Bitcoin in financing structures. Unlike other lending companies that let clients borrow against Bitcoin with the risk of liquidation in the event that Bitcoin's price drops below a certain threshold, New Market Capital removes that risk and offers loan structures without mark-to-market trigger. Quote, "As lenders, we are constructive on the long-term value of Bitcoin and comfortable recognizing Bitcoin as collateral without mark-to-market risk," said Hans. Quote, "We achieve this by incorporating Bitcoin as a component of a broader collateral package alongside traditional financeable assets. In this way, we have improved our downside through the introduction of Bitcoin, an uncorrelated element, an asset that has had such a strong history of appreciation over time in the collateral package. Deals that employ this strategy can be structured differently. In some cases, a borrower can use Bitcoin that they're already holding as collateral for a loan, while in other cases, New Market Capital and the borrower purchase Bitcoin as part of the loan structure. The latter is how the loan for the Bank Street Court building was structured. Quote, "It's a $16.5 million building, and we offered the building owner a $12.5 million loan," explained Hans. Quote, "The use of proceeds was to pay off the existing financing, which was $9 million, to provide them with approximately $2 million of capital expenditures for certain improvements to the property that they wanted to make. With the remaining $1.5 million, we purchased just shy of 20 Bitcoin as part of our combined collateral package," end quote. Unlike traditional loans, which often lock borrowers in with prepayment penalties or a make whole, the Bank Street Court financing can be paid off at any time with no penalties. To allow for this outcome, the borrower and the lender align to share appreciation on the upside from the Bitcoin over the life of the loan. The longer the loan is outstanding, the greater the share of Bitcoin appreciation that vests for the borrower, incentivizing borrowers to take long-term views on Bitcoin. Although the loan can be repaid at any time in the building released, the earliest that the Bitcoin can be wound down is 4 years, in line with Bitcoin's 4-year rhythm. The loan carries a single-digit interest rate and has a maturity of 10 years. Hans, a Bitcoiner himself, understands that other Bitcoiners have low time preference, that they prioritize future economic well-being over more immediate gratification. However, he acknowledges that there are limits to this approach, which is why New Market Capital created the battery finance strategy. Quote, "The lowest time preference is not feasible for humans because we have a finite life. There's a point where we want to accomplish things with our lives. We want to grow our business or start a new business or just do the things that we all have a passion for, like opening up a makerspace or a brewery or a bookstore, whatever the case might be. If you're just hodling the Bitcoin, you're deferring those dreams," he added. By offering this financial tool, we can essentially serve as a mechanism to transform those time preferences to bring forward the appreciation of the Bitcoin by offering a significant amount of financing to accomplish whatever the real-world goals borrowers have, he said. Battery Finance is currently focused on working with borrowers who are interested in acquiring or refinancing commercial properties. So not homes and stuff like that. Not yet, anyway. Quote, "For the time being, we're investing or inviting interest around loans that are, generally speaking, $10 million to $30 million, which include 10 to 30% Bitcoin with 70% to 90% traditionally financeable income-producing assets," explained Hans. And it's a tool for both asset owners that want to redenominate some of the equity in their existing portfolio into Bitcoin, and it's also a tool for Bitcoiners who want to obtain stable long-term financing supported in part by their Bitcoin to acquire assets in the real world. This way, they can generate income and accomplish their goals while remaining invested in Bitcoin. End quote. In time, Battery Finance plans to service a broader range of customers. Yeah, hopefully they'll get into home loans and get some of this nonsense out of the way so that we can actually have, homes again. Quote, "We see broad applicability for this lending structure, including over time, to people that are at different phases of their Bitcoin savings journey. I hope that these kinds of products will develop into solutions that enable people to do things like finance a house or an automobile with their Bitcoin." Yeah, that's going to have to happen, guys. Anyway, this is Frank Corva writing about that a little bit more in depth about that piece that I brought you on Friday at the very beginning of the show. It was Mr. Hans talking to the guys over at it was Squawk Box, I think, Joe Kernan's outfit. Anyway, if this gets into a situation where general retail can take advantage of it, wow! Because if you didn't hear it, what they're doing is they're providing a loan, and part of that loan goes to actually buy Bitcoin, in which case that Bitcoin is also set as an asset against the loan itself. So as the Bitcoin appreciates, that loan becomes less and less treacherous to service as time goes on. If and only if, of course, Bitcoin continues to rise. But since they've put a 4-year timescale on when you can actually liquidate the Bitcoin or somehow or another extinguish that portion of the collateral, then chances are really good you're going to see upside potential on these loans. So if instead of $10 to $30 million as being sort of like the boundaries that you can enter into this kind of financing deal, if that comes down to, a few $100,000, $500,000, $1 million, and that's if real estate prices still stay as elevated as we've seen them, then all of a sudden you've got the entire retail market that's looking to buy a house that could take advantage of them making the loan, overextending that, or not overextending the loan, but making more of a loan than it cost to purchase the house, and then putting the rest into Bitcoin, which you then hold for 4 years, and then service the debt as a normal mortgage. That would be interesting to see, because at that point you've got the outlet to allow retail into the market, but still, I don't know. I think it's going to produce a lot more BTC purchases if they do that. If they don't do that, that would honestly be kind of sad if they stay, plebs can't take advantage, because plebs, generally speaking, are not going to be doing financing between $10 and $30 million. That's for accredited investor type people, but whatever. Let's get into this one. Cantor Fitzgerald. We're now doing this one from Decrypt. It's written by Vince D'Aquino. Cantor Fitzgerald is planning a $2 billion Bitcoin lending program via Tether. All right, so we're still talking about Bitcoin lending, but this time we're talking about stable coins. I've warned you about these things. Maybe Tether and USDC, I can think of those as possibly being a little bit safer types of things to utilize if you're going to have to utilize them. But understand, you're going to see a plethora of stable coins jump into the market, and most of them are going to be just straight up scams. And you're going to lose your money if you start playing around with it. So if you don't have to use stable coins, then don't. But Cantor Fitzgerald is going to do it. The U.S. financial services and bond trading firm is reportedly discussing a multi-billion-dollar Bitcoin-backed lending program with the help of Tether. The proposed program, the proposed program would allow clients to borrow dollars using Bitcoin as collateral. Initially, the operation would begin with a $2 billion allotment, though it has the potential to expand as crypto sees more adoption, according to a Bloomberg report on Saturday. It's yet another step towards a symbiotic relationship between Wall Street and the crypto industry, which has deepened this year, particularly as an expected transition in crypto policy comes to the fore as Trump prepares to settle into the White House. Bitcoin lending program, which is still in its early stages, would likely include multiple financial contributors alongside Tether, and Cantor is already recruiting staff for the initiative. The move comes as Cantor's chief, Howard Lutnick, was nominated as Commerce Secretary under President-elect Donald Trump on Wednesday and is reportedly preparing to divest his interest in the firm. Yeah, you'd have to, otherwise you're going to have ethics violations that you don't want to see. In a prepared statement following the nomination, Lutnick said he intends to do so to comply with United States government ethics rules. There you go. Lutnick's departure from key roles applies to his positions at Cantor, BGC, and something called Newmark. As Lutnick prepares to depart Cantor pending Senate confirmation, he plans to hand over the firm's Tether relationship to colleagues. His son Brandon is cited as a possible candidate per the Bloomberg report. It's an ethics violation, guys. Brandon previously interned at Tether's Swiss operations and is now at Cantor, and he is said to have counted gold bars backing Tether's $660 million gold-backed token, which is called Tether Gold, during his internship. Oh, they're handing it off. He was an intern, ladies and gentlemen. He's ready to roll, I guess. Quote, the ratings assigned to Cantor, BGC, and Newmark incorporate key person risk associated with Lutnick, given his majority voting control, market relationships, close involvement in many other aspects of the businesses, and outsized influence on the firm's respective strategic directions, a commentary from Fitch Ratings claims. Cantor already manages most of Tether's $132 billion in assets through its custody business, earning tens of millions of dollars in annual fees. Notably, Cantor also required a 5% stake in Tether, valued at $600 million, according to sources cited by the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal report cites a statement issued from Lutnick's selection as Commerce Secretary, where a spokesperson maintained that Tether's relationship with Cantor was entirely professional, based on managing reserves, dismissing suggestions that Lutnick's political connections could influence regulatory actions. The same report quotes Lutnick's statement at the Bitcoin conference in Nashville in July, where he described his first meeting with Tether CFO Giancarlo Devicini. I basically told him the movie line. I said, show me the money. And we found every penny. And they had every penny, end quote. These statements point to what Tether had been struggling with over the years, proving that it does indeed have the reserves backing its stablecoin issuance following years, and I'm talking years, of skepticism from industry insiders and outsiders alike. A UN report released in January identified Tether's USDT as a preferred choice for money launderers. That's right. While the U.S. Treasury Department has asked Congress for new powers to block stablecoin transactions linked to illicit activities. Tether has repeatedly refuted those claims, saying it instead provides support to law enforcement officials and policymakers to mitigate the use of its stablecoin for illicit activities. So there you go. Cantor Fitzgerald, Commerce Secretary Lutnick is at the head of that thing right now. Of course, he's not Commerce Secretary yet. He's got to actually be confirmed. But these ties worry me. And it's not just Lutnick. I mean, it's Liberty Financial with Trump. It's like, it is a whole basket of potential ethics violations that are going to be scrutinized. No matter whether or not they're above board, it doesn't matter. The enemies of these people, of this administration, are definitely going to have a freaking heyday with shit like this. I mean, and my issue here really is this notion that he's going to hand the whole thing off to his son, Brandon, an intern at some kind of Swiss company, and that's going to make it okay. And honestly, it's not going to make it okay. It's still going to be a situation where ethics probes are going to be all over these people to the point that they may not even be able to actually perform their functions. But as usual, we'll have to see. But right now, let's run numbers. West Texas Intermediate oil is down 3 points. Apparently, there is a ceasefire deal on the table between Israel and Palestine, or Hamas, or whoever it is that they're fighting today. Brent North Sea is likewise down 2.7% to $73.15. Natural gas doing what it does. It's going in the opposite direction. It's 5.8% to the upside and now stands at $3.31 per thousand cubic feet. Gasoline is down almost 3 full points, back to $2 a gallon. Gold struggling 3 points to the downside, leaves it at $2,627.60 per ounce. Silver is down 3%, platinum is down 3%, but copper is up 0.5%. Palladium is down over 4% today. Biggest winner in ag is coffee, 1.5% to the upside. Biggest loser looks like it's going to be wheat, 1.5% to the downside. Live cattle is down 1/4, but lean hogs are up almost 1/2. Feeder cattle likewise up almost 1/2. The Dow is doing well, 1% to the upside. S&P 0.3% to the upside. NASDAQ is up 0.14, and the S&P Mini is up 1.5. And as we see, Bitcoin is struggling, probably because, for whatever reason, Michael Saylor bought a shit ton of Bitcoin. Because it's always sell the news, isn't it? Price $94,970 per coin leaves us with a paltry $1.88 trillion market cap, and we can only get 35.9 ounces of shiny metal rocks with our one Bitcoin, of which there are 19,787,167.99 of. And fees are minimal. 0.07 BTC taken in fees on average on a per block basis, and there are a mere 88 blocks, and it was down to like 39 blocks over the weekend. I was actually surprised and almost waiting for the mempools to clear, but they haven't. They've gone back up. There are 241,000 unconfirmed transactions waiting to clear at high priority rates of 5 satoshis per VByte. Low priority is going to get you in at 1 Satoshi per VByte, and mining hash rate is 754.8 exahashes per second. It was up to almost 800 over the weekend, so we've come down quite a bit from there. And from Friday's show, Go Gensler, that was Bitcoin and episode 997. I got Itsy Bitsy Hodl with 5,000 sats says, hey man, the guy in the clip is Andrew Hans of Battery Finance. It's a 1031 fund backed venture, which is using Bitcoin as collateral, merging of traditional finance and Bitcoin. Thank you, Itsy Bitsy Hodl. I appreciate the information on that. FOMO Metronic with 1001 sats says, absolutely nothing. Graham with 1,000 says, thank you, sir. No, thank you. Mutum 8 with 1,000 says, money is a tool of exchange, which can't exist unless there are goods procured and men able to produce them. Money is the material shape of the principle that men who wish to deal with one another must deal by trade and give value for value. And that is a direct quote from Anne Rand, most likely the money speech from Atlas Shrugged, if I had to guess. God's Death with 537 says, thank you, sir. No, thank you. Pies to Pleb with 420 says, thank you, sir. No, thank you. And that's going to do it for the weather report. Welcome to part 2 of the news you can use. Before we begin, I want to ask you guys a favor. If you are out there and you appreciate ranchers and what they do, given, basically making sure that you've got high quality animal protein and animal fats on your table to feed yourself and your family, then do me a favor. Either give me a boostergram for the show and make a statement as to, like words of encouragement to ranchers, because tomorrow night I will be addressing a room full of ranchers at the Whitman County Cattlemen's Association annual dinner. I've been invited to speak specifically on what's going on with the King Ranch. If you don't know what's going on with the King Ranch, I invite you to go listen to episode 943 of Bitcoin and entitled Ranch Wars, the King Ranch, where I talked to a lawyer for the King Ranch about their battle with the state of Washington's Attorney General's office, the Department of Ecology, as well as the Department of Natural Resources. They're trying to destroy their multi-generational, 7-decade-old ranch, and they're doing a pretty good job of it. So I've been asked to deliver remarks about that battle and what exactly is going on. I'd like to end that talk with a few things from the plebs out there that let these guys know that they're not alone and that what they're doing for us is actually appreciated. So either on Nostr, hit me up. I've got a note out there that's requesting the very same thing. So go to my profile and you'll scroll down and you'll see it there. Because I want to be able to give these guys a few remarks, and then at the end I want to be able to tell them, hey, here's some people that you've never met, that you don't know, and here's what they're saying about how they appreciate what it is that you do, because everybody needs some encouragement now and again. So if you would do that, I would definitely appreciate that. Okay, let's get into this one from the block. Jason Shubnell tells us something that's kind of weird about what's going on with Bitmain. Apparently, the United States Customs has halted Bitmain ASIC imports amid speculation over sanctions, according to a report. This doesn't actually sound very good, honestly. U.S. Customs and Border Protection, at the request of the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, has been holding imports of Bitmain Antminer S21 and T21 series ASICs at ports across the country for up to 2 months. 7 U.S.-based mining companies have not been provided a clear reason for the delays or a timeline for the resolution, the report said. One source told Blockspace that U.S. Customs and Border Protection is charging daily holding fees, which have exceeded $200,000 for some firms. The move does not appear to target other manufacturers like MicroBT or Canaan miners. Bitmain is the largest ASIC designer and mining hardware manufacturer in the world at the time, and Blockspace said industry speculation suggests that the holdups may be linked to scrutiny over chips supplied by Xiamen Softgo, a company under investigation for potential U.S. sanctions violations. Softgo chips like the CV1835 are used in certain Antminer models, including the S19. Softgo was founded in 2019 by McCree Zahn, also the co-founder and CEO of Bitmain. Taiwan Semiconductor stopped supplying chips to SoftGo when the U.S. Commerce Department began investigating whether TSMC had provided chips to Huawei, the information reported in October. Oh, good Lord. China-based Huawei has been under U.S. sanctions since 2020 due to national security concerns, and while no direct evidence links the importing halts to these investigations, Blockspace source believes that the FCC and the CBP may be inspecting shipments for restricted components. The block reached out to CBP for comment. The situation highlights growing tensions at the intersection of U.S. trade policies and tech regulations. China-based companies like Bitmain have dominated the mining hardware market, but President-elect Donald Trump has vowed to make the U.S. a Bitcoin mining powerhouse. Quote, "It will be the policy of my administration to keep 100% of all the Bitcoin the United States government currently holds or acquires into the future. This will serve, in effect, as the core of the strategic national Bitcoin stockpile. It's been taken away from you." Well, that Bitcoin was actually taken away from several people, so I don't know exactly what you're talking about. Here's my, that's the end of the article, but here's one of the concerns that I have. Although it's probably unfounded, but think about this. Are they inspecting these machines, or are they installing backdoors into these machines? They've been held, these miners from Bitmain have been held at ports for 2 months, and they're charging the companies like $200,000 to hold them. So that's great. I can just decree that I'm going to hold your shit and then charge you a holding fee for it. But while they're there, is it possible that they might be deinstalling certain chips from the motherboard of these miners and reinstalling chips that have some kind of backdoor, some kind of, like surveillance tech attached to it? Who knows? But it may be unfounded because MicroBT and Canaan miners seem to be not affected. So maybe this whole thing is above board. Still, though, I think it's bullshit that they're charging the companies a holding fee for miners that they're not releasing. It's just another way that government gets in our way. Okay, from my friend Hodlebod, he has released Flotilla, but this one is a write-up from nobsbitcoin.com. Let's see what they have to say about what Flotilla is. It is a Discord-like nostr client for relay-based communities. Okay, so that's the definition. Quote, "I am pleased to announce the release of 0.1.0 of Flotilla, a new client for communities," announced Hodlebod. This project began as a NIP29 client, and after 3 pull requests, lots of discussion, a podcast, and a partial implementation, I decided to go my own way, said the developer. Flotilla does not support NIP29 like Chachi.chat does. However, both clients offer features such as chat, join request, group metadata, membership management, moderation, and other related functionalities. Quote, "The basic unit of a NIP29 group is a random group ID string, while the basic unit of a Flotilla group is a relay itself," explained the developer in a blog post. Quote, "I believe this design difference emerged in part of what we were attempting to build. NIP29 groups tend to be more Telegram-like, where groups function more like chat rooms and users join each one individually. On Flotilla, groups function more like Discord servers or Slack workspaces, and users join an entire group of chat rooms at once," he added. "If you want to try Flotilla, check out the following groups: nostrtalk.org or Bucket." I'm going to go to nostrtalk.org just to see what that thing looks like. Hold on. Let's let it come up. It may take a while. Time to get some coffee. And so if you want to go check out flotilla.social, the actual Flotilla itself, it is flotilla.social. That is FLOTILLA.social. And Nostr Talk isn't actually coming. It's coming through, but it's not actually making any posts. So I'll come back to it and see if I let it spin for a little bit, that maybe it can collect me up some notes as to what's going on in that particular group, which is a relay-based group. Okay, that's what's really important about Flotilla, is that it's all about the relay, and a standalone relay that just on, basically is the collection point for all the people that want to be part of a specific group. And I honestly think that kind of firewalling against different relays and just having, hey, I can spin up a relay on my Start9 and just start a group. To me, this makes a lot of sense. It just does. Okay, so SatShoot is been released. It's version 0.2.0. It is a NIP60 wallet and NIP61 nutzaps. SatShoot is a free and open source freelance marketplace built on the nostr protocol using the nostr development kit. It allows users to hire freelancers for any type of job or earn sats by offering their own freelance services. So I guess this is a replacement for Fiverr. SatShoot version 0.2.0 has been released with NIP60 and NIP61, and rendering of nostr URIs announced 5. And I don't know who 5 is, but like I said, this is probably a replacement for Fiverr. Quote, need a hand in development? Have technical issues to sort out? Post it on SatShoot. Then share as a short text note. Tap into global nostr talent to get your job done by the best bidders. All feedback welcome. Keep pushing for the freedom economy, added the developer. Here's the key features. There's no middleman. Your nostr keys, your contracts, your deals, your servers. It respects your relays of choice. And then it says something about C outbox model. There's Web of Trust, which uses your nostr-based social network to fight scammers and spammers. Build an unstoppable reputation on nostr as a freelancer. So it does look like this is a direct replacement for Fiverr using the nostr protocol. So you might want to give it a shot here. Let me see. It is satshoot.com. I'm going to go over to this one. Yeah, satshoot.com. That's satshoot.com. It says freedom of work, unstoppable freelancing on nostr, join the freedom economy. And then there's a button for, well, actually, it's not a button. It's just a little pop-up. Find freelancers for any job. Earn sats as a freelancer. And then if I go and I say try SatShoot, I'm going to sign in as a client. And then I'm going to hit login. And it doesn't seem to, there's a new app available. Okay, so now let's see if, okay, it's not letting me log in with the login button. Clearly, all these things have bugs. It's okay. It'll work. It'll be fine. We've just got to actually give the developer some time to get these bugs out of their way. So if you want to go give it a shot, satshoot.com for all of your freelancer needs, whether you want to be a freelancer or you want to hire one to do maybe some logo work or some back-end development work. I'm not exactly sure who's there. I'm going to be playing with it later on today to see if I can get in and see more about it. But first, Umbrel OS version 1.3.0 has been released with swappable apps, Cloudflare DNS, factory reset, and more. Umbrel OS 1.3 brings all that stuff and more. Quote, the official update is now rolling out for Umbrel OS 1.0 Plus users on Umbrel Home, Raspberry Pi, and other supported devices. So what is a swappable app? Well, now users can choose which Bitcoin node app they want to run, Bitcoin Node, Bitcoin Knots, or Libra Relay, and select preferred Electrum server app, either Electris, Fulcrum, or Electrum X. There's Cloudflare DNS, which is the ability to enable Cloudflare DNS for improved reliability, or you can disable it to inherit DNS settings from your own router. Factory reset, users can now reset their Umbrel in just a few clicks via settings, for settings, advanced settings, and then there's a button there for factory reset. There are performance improvements and UI improvements. There's security enhancements. There's App Store enhancements, and there's miscellaneous fixes. So this seems like a moderately large upgrade to the Umbrel OS. If you are an Umbrel user, you might want to go check that out. Last on the list is RoboSats version 0.7.3 alpha, LNP2P bot orders, and nostr order books on Android. Wow. Okay, so I think this is, I actually think I brought this to you on Saturday. Let's just go ahead and do it though. The release is now available and introduces the ability to fetch orders from LNP2P bot platform when the user enables nostr orders in settings, thanks to shared nostr order books. RoboSats and LNP2P bot are two separate platforms for P2P Bitcoin exchange. Both are now publishing their public orders to nostr, so we can now display their orders in our client, and this brings a lot of benefits. One of the most direct benefits is that RoboSats users will now have more info when comparing premiums, which will reduce the arbitrage between platforms and increase the general liquidity, said Collateralized. Additionally, Android users now have the option to enable nostr orders in settings along with a few other fixes. Okay, well, that'll work. LNP2P bot orders now available if you enable nostr. So the third-party orders are not managed by a RoboSat coordinator. Please ensure you are comfortable with the privacy and trust trade-offs. Sometimes these things just don't make a whole lot of sense to me, but that's because I don't use these things. I'm not one of these people that really needs to go to, like really hang around LNP2P bot and have, looking at order books and whatnot like that. I'm just an old fuddy-duddy that way. I just like to buy my Bitcoin and hold my Bitcoin, and I don't really use any of this stuff. But if you are a user of this, you might want to go check it out. Now that it's nostr enabled, that should be pretty interesting. Okay, I've gone back over to Nostr Talk on flotilla.social, and I actually have to request access to get into this group. And I don't have an invite code from the people in Nostr Talk, so I'm not going to be able to tell you anything about what the hell's going on. However, I appreciate the fact that you can have security checks as to who it is that you let into these relays, or rather these chat rooms. So again, flotilla.social is like Discord or Slack, and if you want to use it in that way, or use Nostr in that way, then you might want to give flotilla.social a go. I played around with it in a couple of other instances, and I got to tell you, man, it's kind of smooth. It's pretty responsive. It's pretty smooth. However, understand that when I say responsive, that's relative to the Nostr network, which is decidedly not as responsive as something like Twitter or any of the other centralized things, because it's generally not centralized. And because of that, relays have to go collect a lot more information. It takes time to get stuff done. So, but in a relative way, flotilla.social is really responsive, and I advise everybody to go out, check it out, and tell my friend Hodlbod on Nostr if there's any bugs that you're seeing, or if there's any improvements that you might want to see. All right, so that's it. I told you it was going to be a short show today. Tomorrow's probably going to be a short show as well, but tomorrow will be episode 999. That will be one of the ultimate palindrome shows. Not that I've got anything special planned. It's just that 999 seems to be one hell of a palindrome, and I will see you on the other side. This has been Bitcoin and I'm your host, David Bennett. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and hope to see you again real soon. Have a great day.